Hi, my name's Debbie and I work for BPP Professional Education. I'm here to talk to you about the new format computer-based exams that are going to come in February 2014. Specifically, I'm going to talk to you about the Knowledge modules or the Foundations in Accountancy Diploma and ACCA F1 Accountant in Business. We're going to look at the exam format, what has and hasn't changed. We're going to look at the skills that you need in order to maximise your chances of passing the exam, and we're going to look in detail at the question types that you're likely to encounter as you go through the paper. Okay, so firstly, let's look at what hasn't changed. Well, the exam is 2 hours long, you have no reading time, and there are 100 marks available. What has changed is that now those 100 marks are available across 2 sections. Previously, the exam was sort of one big lump of a section. Now it's split up into Section A and Section B. So let's have a look in a little bit more detail then at those 2 sections. So Section A is 30 questions worth 2 marks for a total of 60 marks, and 16 questions worth 1 mark each for a total of 16 marks. These questions are likely to have a short scenario to which you're going to need to apply your knowledge in order to correctly answer the question, but you could just have a question that's a pure knowledge test as well, so a question with no scenario. Section B is going to have 6 questions worth 4 marks. These are likely to have a slightly longer scenario and multiple tasks associated with them. All of the questions are compulsory and the pass mark is 50%. Okay, so let's have a closer look at those exam skills then. So we've got 4 things to work our way through. The first exam skill is really a given. It's learning and understanding the syllabus. So there are 2 approaches here. We've got learning, which is about the theoretical knowledge, so filing that away, and then understanding the syllabus, which is about the practical application of your knowledge to a scenario. So we can't just learn and churn here. We've got to make sure we understand the context of the knowledge that we've acquired. So we've got to make sure that we're doing lots of practice questions to check that we can apply our knowledge to the scenarios. Second skill that we're going to need is time management. So we've got 100 marks to find and we've got 2 hours to do it in. That works out at 1.2 minutes per mark. So, of course, what we don't want to do is be looking at the clock every 1.2 minutes. We don't have time for that. So what we'll do is divide the exam down into, say, half-hour sections. So after half an hour has passed, are you a quarter of the way through the paper? We need to make sure that we've specifically sectioned off 29 minutes, so round about half an hour, for Section B, so we can devote the full time needed to Section B. Okay. Third skill then is tackling objective test questions. So we're going to look in detail at the different question types that you're likely to encounter in the question paper. So the first of these question types then is the multiple choice question. So we can see here that we've got a short statement and we have to pick the most appropriate answer. We only want to choose one answer of the available 3, and this particular question is just worth 1 mark. So we're choosing one answer from 3 options. If we had 4 options to choose from, this question would be worth 2 marks. And because this is Section A, we get no partial credit. So the question is either correct or incorrect, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. The other thing to notice with this question is we're asked for the most appropriate answer. What that means is that there's more than one answer here that is technically correct. So what you'll have to do is demonstrate the strength of your knowledge by picking the most appropriate answer, the best possible answer out of those 3. Next question type then is multiple response. So here we've got to pick 2 of the 4 statements that we've got to pick from. So we've got to make sure that we follow the instructions and pick 2 answers. As we said a second ago, so this is Section A, we have no partial marking. So if we were only to pick one answer, we wouldn't pick up 1 mark. So we need to pick 2 answers, and if those answers are correct, then we get 2 marks. If one of them is incorrect, then we get no marks, unfortunately. Third question type is multi-response matching. Here you can see with this question, we've got a reasonably, it's not a big scenario, but it's bigger than what we've seen so far, And we've got 4 decisions to make. So this particular question is going to take a little bit more time than the other questions that we've looked at and the true-false that we're going to look at in a second. But that's absolutely fine. So we know that some of the questions we do are going to be nice and quick and easy. Some of them are going to take a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, but that's fine. We'll get a balance across the entire paper. So with this one, we need to pick more than one answer. So we need an answer for liquidity, an answer for operating costs, etc. So that's a multi-response matching question. Final question we're going to look at in this section is a true or false. What you can see here is that we don't have a scenario. We've got a simple statement. Is it right? Is it wrong? All true-false questions will be for 1 mark only, and you've got to be really, really careful with this question. So if you notice, we'd expect the answers to be true, then false. And what we've got is false, then true. So there's no switching on the autopilot when you're doing this exam. Pay attention, make sure you pick the correct answer. Okay, finally then, let's talk about those multi-task questions. So where you've got a bit more of a scenario, a bit something to get your teeth into, and a few tasks to answer. So these questions, there will be 6 of them, 4 marks each, and you've got to set aside around about half an hour to get this done. So make sure you keep on track with your timing. Okay, let's have a look at this question then. We've got the background, so we've got a little bit of a scenario, we've got the information, and then we've got a new question type. Okay, so we've got 2 new question types in these multitask questions. We've got to pick from a drop-down menu, and then we've got hotspots as well. So we're looking at a drop-down menu here. So the question says that we've got 4 references to the functions of management, and so we've got 4 statements. And then we've got task 1, which is select the correct reference for each writer. So you click on the little arrow, drop-down menu appears, and you can click on the correct reference for each writer. So here what you'll notice is that for Peter Drucker, I've selected reference D. This particular task has 2 marks. You can see there we've got 0.5 out of 2 marks. So I've got this question correct. And as I go through, so I select an answer from Elton Mayo. If I get that correct, I'll get another half mark. I select an answer for Henry Mintzberg. If I get that correct, I'll get another half mark. So in section B, we have partial marking, which is brilliant, of course. Partial credit for your efforts. So let's move on to task 2. Task 2 says, from the list below, identify 2 of Henry Fayle's functions of management. Okay, so what you'll notice is that task 2 is on the same topic as task 1, but they don't follow on from each other. So if you've made a little mistake in task 1, it doesn't matter, you get a clean slate for task 2. This is a multi-response question, exactly like we saw before. So you need to pick 2 answers rather than just 1. And we've got 2 marks available. This is section B, so we do have that partial marking, don't forget. So here what you can see is I've selected 1 answer, and you know that this is a correct answer, but you can see that I've got no credit for that yet. Okay, what I'd need to do to get credit for that answer that's correct is select another answer. So here if I picked motivating, I know that's incorrect, but if I didn't know the answer and I selected motivating, then I would get 1 mark. I'd get the 1 mark for having selected 1 correct answer and then put the correct number of answers into the exam. Of course, if I wanted the full 2 marks, then I'd have to select 2 right answers. Okay, final thing I'm going to show you then for these multitask questions is the collapse function. What we can see on this slide is that we've got a big orange plus, and then we've got 3 sections to the questions. We've got the background, then we've got task 1 and task 2. So these questions, they can be quite long, so it's quite handy to be able to collapse down 1 or more of the tasks so that you're just looking at the task that you're doing at the moment, so we don't get distracted by all the stuff that's going on. So here we can see that we've got the background, so we can read the scenario, and then on the next slide, if we want to take a look at task 1, we'll just click on the orange cross or plus sign and expand task 1. We can have a go at task 1. Once we finish task 1, we'll click the little minus button and then move on to task 2. Okay, so just a couple more things I want to remind you of then, just before I say goodbye. So things to watch out for. When you're studying, what you need to remember is to do lots and lots of question practice. That's the main thing. So you can practice the application of your knowledge to a scenario. Then when you're actually in the exam, you need to remember to read the question very, very carefully. They do try to trip you up, but that's something that we're prepared for, and we're going to make sure that we read the questions and answer them correctly. Other things, of course, time management. Pay attention to how quickly you're getting through those questions and make sure you keep the pace up if you need to. And then finally, next steps. So what should you do after you've booked your CB while you're preparing for the exam? Well, what we would recommend is that you go to the ACCA website and you have a go at the specimen paper. So fantastic resource there for you, just like sitting the real exam. So go and have a look at that. There are two available. There's one that's a full-length paper and there's one that's some extra practice for those multitask questions. Apart from that, make sure you have a go at as many questions as you can get your hands on, so acquire a practice and revision kit if you can, and do lots and lots and lots and lots of question practice. Get hold of your tuition provider if you need any extra support. They will be more than happy to help you out. And other than that, I wish you lots and lots of luck for all of your future studies.